So right now I want to hit LL Cool J. I mean, LL Cool J for us, he is the man. He was originated. He did stuff. You know, it was LL Cool J, and it sounds different of anybody. That's also why Russell Simmons say he's one of the next newcomer. But now he brought out the song "Ain't Nobody." What do you think about that? Why did he do this? And
he's a good businessman. He's a good businessman. That's what it turned into. When you look at the rappers that are still around today, I mean, even like Fresh Prince, you know, he could come out with a record and people would buy it just for the TV show. They don't know maybe his first records, you know, or anything about it, but they know it's from the TV show. So Cool J's good because he's appealing to the new generation. He had the generation from the beginning of the '80s, and you know, I Need a Beat, and Can't Live Without Your Radio, and did all that. And he's been through the phases and saw the music grow. Now, if he incorporates something like that, these new people don't know the music, don't know the old soul records like that, you know, but he's making it so this new generation still likes him, you know. He's doing stuff that people like, you know. He still keeps up with that instead of just doing his own. I'm sure he could do a dope old record, you know. He could do a dope hardcore hip hop, you know, and he'll probably do that on his albums, but they'll never get played as much as, you know, these records. It's just money. It's a business, you know, for him, you know. That's why I can't play those songs. That's why I don't even appreciate those songs. You know, it's like Mama Said Knock You Out, you know, stuff like that we didn't really realize was commercial. You know, like it was kind of sellout, you know, but we played it. It was good music. Now it's like, come on, come back. Bring some old schools. Like KRS will never give you something commercial. You know, he still maintains himself. You know, he changes things he talks about and things. He changes just as much as people change. And Cool J changed. But he's more centered on hip-hop than Cool J is. Cool J to say anything and, you know, walk around and wear the nicest clothes, you know, and he's been in movies and all this stuff. It takes away from the hardcore, you know. So, but it's business, you know, it's good, and he's still selling more records than, you know, any of the people I listen to, so.
So, we got a point right there, because if you look about Switzerland, in Switzerland, the most people, what they know is what played on the radio, what's played in the clubs, and the most of this is commercial. It's not. So without the commercial, you won't even be able to go into where it comes from. So you would say that the hardcore is where it comes from.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, even you know, like I said, some of these big artists now have done their hardcore stuff. You know, even Biggie had a little more edge to him when he did Party and Bullshit. But there was, I don't know, it just, it's well, in your country, it's probably the distribution. It's like the major companies, they'll send out or they'll get into your country, you know, or they'll press in your country only the big artists. You know, that's why. But I'm sure there's people watching or listening that have picked up tapes, you know. It's just like, you know, anywhere you're at, you know, if you were into it, you would get a tape from somewhere else, from New York radio, or from a LA radio show, or from wherever across the country, and you would hear that there's more to it. That's what I'm interested in telling people, that there's more to it than just your name people. You know, don't get me wrong, you know, I'm not saying don't listen to them or buy their music, you always will, but, you know, there's more to it. There's people out there, you know, that have been doing stuff for years that don't have the same Gang Starr. You know, it's like they would get out there. Maybe if they did shows, you know, they'd have to be that name, you know, or they'd have to be like a Cool J or Run DMC or something like that. But you know, it's hard for those people to do that when they're concentrating on their music more, you know. So it's easier to be a Cool J, you know, as the years go. You know, you don't have to do that hard work, you know. You've made it, you know. And now you can just put out easy records, fun, easy records, you know. You don't have to like be hardcore and have scratching.
But there were this group who thought about that when we come back hardcore, that's what the people might want to hear, because they didn't know it yet, really. And I talked about the WuTang Clan, who I just found out that back in the days, they did some goofy stuff. It's like, and it's like more in... And then they came back and they're really hard and the people love it. There's like millions of selling records right now.
Yeah, and even them, like, they know it's a business. You know, it's hard. When they came out, there was 8 people in the group, you know, and to split checks, you know, split the money, you know, is a lot hard. But, and then, you know, they made it where all of them could get record deals. You know, they did their, you know, business managing and stuff like that. But you even see, like, they tend to do something that could sound commercial but still have their edge to it. You know, they're not going to do anything like, you know, sissy records, you know, but they'll still have some like soul singing or something in it, you know, a pinch, but it'll still have that Wu-Tang edge, you know. So it's good, you know, and plus, you know, almost anything they do, they'll always have this core, and the core keeps opening up, you know, and the merchandising, their clothes, Wu wear, you know, brings them out, you know, and just, you know, different rapping on different people's records, you know, and the stuff they did with SWV, you know, brought them to a dance group too, you know. And
you like that one?
Yeah, it was a good record, you know. But you know, and I played it, but you know, I don't know. And then nowadays, I mean, as you know, I do all kinds of DJing. So like when I do club stuff, sometimes I don't always play Wu-Tang stuff, or some of, you know, Helter Skelter, some of the stuff that's slow, you know, just kind of gets boring to play. You know, those are good listen records, you know. It's like they're saying a lot of stuff that needs to be listened to, you know, and the club needs to be a little different, you know, whatever. So that's why I like playing, you know, old Nice and Smooth, or, you know, MC Shan, you know, and Molly Mall, you know. I like, you know, Biz Markie, Main Source, you know, Kane, Brand New. Yeah, I like playing stuff that, you know, you've heard quite a few times and you're familiar, and it's a good feeling, and, you know, not that some slow record, you know.
So where would you put all those rappers you just told? Where would you put this into? Is this new school or is this old school? Because there's this confusion. What is new school? What is old school?
Right.
Tell me about that. What is old school for you, really?
Well, for me, I have a different thing. Now, you have different phases that people call old school. You have a record label called Thump Records out here that puts out old school compilations. Now, they'll put anything from 1977 to 88. And that's like, you know, that's, okay, where does old school start and end, you know? Old school, you know, I mean, they've called it retro. They have a station out here, Power 106, is like the biggest station, and they say old school all the time. They even have an old school show. But to me, they don't play any old school. You know, they play occasional record that, but, you know, old school for me is rap, is hip hop, is not funk records, you know, it's not the disco. It's where the hip hop started. You know, it's not the holding and not Parliament or all that stuff. You know, that's funk. You know, you could say anything's old school, but where that came in was more for the hip hop. To me, it goes from wherever it started. You know, I'm sure stuff's not on tape, just people rapping, you know, back in the day. But I'd say, you know, close to 1977 to about 83. And when 83 came in, they started using drum machines more. Instead of having a band come in and redo a song, you know, or play a song, or do it live over different disco records or rock records, you know, play the break and they do it live, you know. But 83 came in and they started using drum machines and things. And that's kind of like the last year of old school for me. So where Biz Markie and all the other records come in that go from, you know, 83 to like 90, that's more, I mean, I guess it's more of a new school. I mean, leaders of the new school and groups like that, you know, that's more of the new school. But you have people, I mean, I don't want to call, I just praised KRS a little while ago, but KRS said something really funny to me. He said, he was talking about old school on Still Number One, and he says, you know, saying like rap as a whole isn't even 50 years old, so why are we talking old school? Now, in a sense, I thought that because maybe he wasn't part of the old school, so he wanted to extend how far old school went so he could be old school. Now, he's been around for a while, but I don't consider him old school. But
what about BDP?
But he BDP. But he considers himself old school now. On Still Number One, he said 50 years down the line we could start this. Then we'll be the old school artist. That's what he said. He said, wait 50 years. But when he came back a couple years later, he had that song called Outta Here, and he said, ain't no doubt BDP is old school. It's like, hold on a second. Run DMC did the same thing. Both Run DMC and KRS call themselves old school now. But Run DMC said, it's all brand new, never ever old school. How are you going to say that? And then now they go around tour, yeah, Run DMC, old school, old school. You know, that's good that they felt that they graduated into that, and they were there back then. But you have Double Trouble, Crash Crew, you have just all these old rappers that, you know, invented the stuff, you know, with
so
Cool Herc, DJ Hollywood, all the DJs, you know, that used to, you know, a party people in the place, just, you know, do a little party thing, you know. Yeah, the originators, they're just getting pushed to the side, you know, and like Thump Records, when they put out their compilations, they're not putting those records on there. You know, there's only one label that does that, Tough City. They'll put out an old school thing and have Davey D, One for the Trouble, or some of these other records on there, which were old, but, you know, maybe not old enough. People still don't know that old record. You could look in a record store and see old school records, but they're all different. You know, they're like from this phase. They're like maybe Houdini, Friends, Fat Boys, this and that. And that was more the new era, like I said, with the drum machines. You know, but before, you won't see old school. You know, you might see one compilation with like real old stuff. You know, Grandmaster Flash and stuff like that. But you know, that's old school to me. Those people, not where people say, you know, but you know, KRS and Run DMC got off and you know, saying one thing one day and years later saying now they're old school. You know, so.
What do you consider the breakbeats then too, like say Debbie Deb and stuff like this,
right.
Clear, all those kind of the electro funk we had,
Planet Rock.
Yeah, who was used actually to break, and as far as I'm concerned, breaking is one of the elements in our culture,
right?
The hip hop culture,
dance, yeah.
So
which is b-boying.
Who is b-boying? So what you consider this not as old school? Is this something different then?
No, it was part
the 70s funk. Who is funk?
Yeah.
But then when they start rapping to it.
It was part of the dance. I mean, you know, actually, me and you saw the documentary, right? Mm-hmm. On LA lockers and poppers from back in the day. That, you know, they were doing the mime dancing, you know, and stuff.
You say
like
back
that.
in the days, we might have to say what year it was. What we talked about
70s.
here in the it was the 70s,
mid 70s, you know, and stuff was going on in LA on the East Coast when they were doing dancing too. But where the actual ground, you know, breaking came in, you know, with Rocksteady and all those kids, was, you know, was after that, but it was a different type of thing. But they incorporated stuff we did too, you know, with the breaking and stuff like that. But as far as like the music, Debbie Deb and stuff like that, to me that came in between house, in between from disco to house. There was that stuff in there like they called high energy. You know, and like Latin type music, you know, and stuff like that, you know, Sarah did Summertime, you know, there's a lot of these records that kids would break to, but even like the Planet Rock and Clear and stuff like that, you know, which weren't like, you know, I mean, Planet Rock was a rap record, Clear was just an instrumental, but the tempo was, you know, was good for the breaking, so.
Yeah, yo, what's up? It's Rob One from the west coast of LA, representing the CBS Notorious Can't Be Stopped crew, chilling with your man and my man. We all know him as Little Maze. Check him out, Switzerland, yo, Switzerland to LA and back.